Hey.
Mics are up.
Hello and welcome to Entrepreneur Espresso, a show featuring our caffeinated, high-energy local business owners, entrepreneurs, and influencers. Lambertville, New Hope, and the Delaware River towns offer a wide diversity of businesses, from our galleries to the restaurants, inns to wonderful shops. It takes a special kind of person to take the risk to open a new store or to start their own business, like our guest today did, starting his own mortgage business. In the show, we will feature people who have taken risks, been bold or adventurous enough to create something, watch it grow, and even experience failure, getting back up and charging forward again. Some of our upcoming guests started in much different careers, often like me, in the corporate arena, and eventually finding their own special and maybe perhaps unique niche. I'm Stephen Harris, the host of Entrepreneur Espresso, owner of 3 entrepreneurial businesses. In my past, I've been an executive with ADP Payroll and a boutique marketing agency. I also became vice president business development for an offshore web development company. Then I jumped into the Shark Tank and started my own business, Cross Sea Partners, a technology engagement company. However, locally, I am most passionate about my new venture, Amplify Your Voice, social media for local business, and Rivertown Photography, commercial and real estate photography services, and also teaching. I'm also a relatively new resident to this area, and I'm very passionate about our local business economy. I truly love and enjoy our local businesses. And up until recently, I had the honor of being on the board of directors for the Greater Lambertville New Hope Chamber of Commerce. So I experienced firsthand the high energy of these 2 communities and the surrounding Delaware River towns. We'll talk more about the Greater Lambertville New Hope Chamber with our guest. So let's take a sip of espresso, let's get ourselves caffeinated, and let's get started. So with our first guest, Glenn Davis, a resident of Lambertville, has become a trusted friend for me personally as I plugged myself into this community, having been here only now just over a year. Glenn is the owner of Benchmark Lending, a mortgage broker service. Clearly, Glenn has his finger on the economic pulse of the area. Glenn also has the distinction of being the president of the Greater Lambertville New Hope Chamber of Commerce. Hey, Glenn, welcome, and thanks for being our first guest.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I truly appreciate it, Steve. And I have to say, before we start this little adventure between you and I, you have probably done more in the last 6 months here in Lambertville than most people have in the last 10 years. So I congratulate you on doing what you've done and your accomplishments, and we welcome you to town, and we need more people like you who actually want to kind of share the special, I don't want to say vision, but the specialness of, for lack of a better term, of Lambertville and New Hope. So thank you for being a part of our community, and thank you for doing all you've done.
Glenn, I really appreciate that, and it is a special community. I hear it more and more from people. They just love being in these towns here. So let's start off, though. This is going to be a two-parter because, again, you have 2 distinctions here. One, you're a local business person, Benchmark. So we'll start with that. On the second half of the show, we'll go over the chamber. So listen, why don't you give me a little bit of background about you and about Benchmark Lending?
Absolutely. So it's kind of a neat little place that we live in, and I discovered it probably, we're in 2016. I discovered this wonderful area of New Hope and Lambertville back in 1991, selling yellow page advertising for all of you local folks who remember the old little yellow book. That was my niche. That was what I did. I worked for a company called Gannett Advertising. Sure. Sold yellow page advertising throughout Central Jersey and Central Bucks, and did that for quite a while. I kind of fell in love with this area because of that. Did that up until about 1997, and the world started to change. I mean, the internet came into play, obviously much before that, but long story short, advertising started to shift in that direction of the internet, and realized that that probably wasn't the greatest direction to go, the greatest direction to continue my professional path. And through a few drinks and a couple good hamburgers at a Saturday evening barbecue, ended up in the world of mortgages. I'm not actually a mortgage broker, I'm a mortgage banker. Okay. What that means is a mortgage broker basically takes your information and kind of sends it off to someone else. A mortgage banker is what I do. I have control from the beginning to the end. So I lock your rate, I order the appraisal, I decision your loan, all that fun stuff. That's kind of the technical side of things. The personal side of things is I just fell in love with this area and the people. My wife and I have had I should say, we've been gracious enough to travel a good part of the world. And regardless of where we go, it's always not necessarily the scenes or the location, it's the people. And the people here in Lambertville and New Hope, really special place because of that. Regardless of the river, regardless of the views, regardless of the weather, we have a really great place that we live in right now, and I'm actually proud to say that I'm a part of it. So that's why I'm here.
Okay. Did you need any special training to get into the mortgage trade? I mean, you went from advertising, getting into big agency.
It's
I mean, that's a big shift. That's a
huge shift. It's funny you say that. Back in the day, there really wasn't a lot of training that was involved. It was, if you can count from 2 + 2 = 4, you were in the business. I'm proud to say that that's changed dramatically over the last 5 or 10 years, where we now need to be licensed not only on a national level, but also on a state level. So licensed here as well in New Jersey, as New York, as Pennsylvania, as well as Florida. So yeah, that's a huge part of the business right now, and being licensed is something that's a mandatory piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, now it is, yeah. Yeah. So it's a big risk. I mean, you went from something you were very comfortable with, selling advertising space, yellow pages, whatever, and then getting into this trade. That's I mean, not just the training or lack of training, but the risk. How did you face that?
It's a shift. It's absolutely a shift. I went from, and any business owner out there, and we have a lot of them in our area, I went from the security of having a 9 to 5, here's your check at the end of the week, to basically leaving one career, going into another, to you kind of kill what you eat what you kill. I hate to say that, but that's the way that it is. And it was a huge shift for me. It was a huge shift for my family. It's something that, as a business owner, regardless of whether you're in New Jersey or Pennsylvania, you do it because you know and you believe that what you're doing is right and what you're doing is going to succeed. And I did that. And that was 16 years ago. So 16 years ago, I kind of threw out the idea of having a paycheck and said, you know what, I'm going to live on what I can actually do. And 16 years later, I'm actually incredibly happy that I did that.
Yeah. Yeah, you really became quite successful with that too. So there's a lot of mortgage companies in the area. So over those 16 years, you learned, you got better at your trade. But how would you differentiate yourself today with other mortgage bankers that are in the area?
I feel like you're reading that off of a sheet.
I am reading it off of a sheet.
I know that.
I know.
I'm joking. It's like any other business. It really comes down to, it doesn't really matter what the name on the card is. It matters the company name on the card, I should say. It matters the person who actually is behind that card. And I pride myself on doing what I say I can do and completing what I say I can complete. And I think because of that, my father taught me a long time ago that regardless of what you're doing, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, always do the right thing. And ultimately, you'll end up ahead. And I've done that throughout my career over the last 16 years. And thankfully, through 2009, 10, 11, 12, they were all hard years in our industry. That philosophy has kind of carried me through. Reputation isn't anything, it's everything. So I believe in that wholeheartedly. And because of that, I think we are where we are today, which is we've got a great business. We've got a really great practice. We work with some really phenomenal realtors and attorneys and accountants and money managers. And, we love our clients. We literally hold their hand from start to finish. And because of that, that's why we're still here today.
Yeah. Did you have any mentors along the way?
I did actually. It's funny they say that. Getting into the business, a gentleman who I met right off the bat and was the owner of the company that I started with, kind of took me under his wing and kind of walked me through the first 2 or 3 years of my career. So yeah, absolutely, mentors are important, and Kevin is his name actually, and Kevin kind of took me by the hand and carried me through the first 2 or 3 years and showed me what to do and what not to do, and I still admire him today. I haven't seen him in quite some time, but definitely an influence in my life. So yeah,
now
absolutely.
That's great. I mean, and I've had a few key mentors in my life, and they come at the right time. They really do. So in this trade, though, you're following the mortgage. I mean, you're following the real estate industry more or less, with its ups and downs. And we've had a couple great ups in those 16 years, and we've had a couple, dramatic downs. How'd you manage through those? I mean, those peaks and valleys.
The ups and downs, the peaks and valleys. I think it's like any other business, whether it's a gallery, whether it's a radio show, whether it's, Snetton's at our favorite place here on Bridge Street. You really need to just become accustomed to the fact that every day isn't going to be a perfect day, and you need to kind of think for the future and what's going to happen as far as your business and the economy, and kind of save towards that. So, not to be a roundabout about with this, but when things started to go south, I started to really thank myself and my parents for teaching me to save money, and realize that every day isn't going to be a basket of fruit, and you need to save up for those days, and those days are going to be here. But long story short, those days aren't going to last. And again, whether it's real estate, whether it's food, whether it's art galleries, we're all going to have kind of those bad days, those bad months, those bad years. But the reality is they don't last. So if you can make it through those bad days, which we've done, and we've done really well, the good days are certainly that much brighter. So,
did you focus more on your marketing during those down times? What did you do when the markets were down? And they're down not for a short period of time. They're down for quite extensive period of time, and then they come back.
Yeah.
So during those periods of time, like where did you allocate your time? What did you do? And a lot of business owners might get depressed, honestly. When they see how their revenues are dropping, and then they realize week after week, month after month, perhaps it's not the same as it was last year. So the key is, what do you do during those period of times to keep yourself uplifted? Saving money is a great, you manage that part well. What else did you do at that time? You're sitting at your desk and nobody's calling. What did you do?
My wife was calling me, believe me.
Yeah.
She was calling
And by the
me.
way, that wasn't on a piece of paper.
That's
here,
okay. That's okay. I don't really, I hate to say this, but I don't care what business you're in. It's relationships that carry you through the hard times. Been fortunate enough to have some really good relationships with some really good people who, even in the down times, whether it was commercial or residential in real estate, they still continued to sell homes. Unfortunately or fortunately, if the stock market is good or the stock market is bad, people get divorced. That's part of this. There's a segment of the society that I know I've been through, and I'm sure 50% of society has been through, according to many statistics. Mm-hmm. So in keeping relationships and building relationships with people who know you, trust you, like you, and want to do business with you during those down times, that's the times when that stuff really counts. And that's what's carried me through that 2009, 2010, 2011 years, which were tough, there's no doubt. But many people fell to the wayside, and we fortunately did not. So
Yeah, I saw that with the real estate industry. A lot of the poorer performers, the less prepared real estate agents, that's it. They bagged their stuff. They moved on. You probably saw that also, like you said, with some competitors and other folks as well. It just wasn't their business. So you were obviously strong enough to last those periods of time. So, I want to get back to more positive talk here, but but one of the things that I think I've experienced when I've mentored and spoken with entrepreneurs is that they do fail at times. They do have hard crashes, and they learn from those crashes, and they come back better and stronger. Many entrepreneurs who start businesses, they might go bankrupt 2 or 3 times before they finally catch fire. So, I mean, do you have an experience? And you might not. Maybe you don't have an experience. Do you have a failing that you took place, and then
I fall every day. I literally fall forward every day.
Physically?
And I say fall forward because it doesn't matter whether you're falling, whether you failed or you haven't failed. It's a matter of you getting up. So when I say I fall forward, I kind of hold that true to not only myself, my business, but also the chamber, in that, regardless of what's happening and what the environment's throwing upon you, you need to continue to kind of move in that forward direction, which as a sole practitioner, I've done. We continue to be successful because of it. And I think, again, going to the chamber, which we'll talk about later on today, we continue to do. Regardless of whether right, wrong, or indifferent, as long as we're moving in the right direction, that's all that matters.
That's a great one. Fall forward. You know,
Fall forward.
fall forward. I love it. That's
and I'm not talking about your clock either. I'm talking about,
Yeah. No,
right.
seriously. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, and I like that one. Okay, let's talk about the market a little bit. You're in a unique position, as are the realtors, and maybe most business owners as well. You have a good sense in this area, this region of the country, this region of the state of New Jersey and Pennsylvania, on the real estate economy, the business economy. We'll talk a little bit more about the business
Sure.
economy when we talk about the chamber. But what are you seeing? What are you feeling? What's the pulse of the economy right now from your vantage point?
If you look at a lot of the real estate indicators out there, you'll see that most of them are gearing or pushing us towards the fact that the segment of the market that's actually moving is the segment that is the town, the community, the home where you can buy and walk to work, or the home where you can buy and walk and get a sandwich or a cup of coffee. So from a market standpoint, the communities Lambertville, Princeton, New Hope, Doylestown, Newtown, those communities where you can walk, those are the communities where you're going to see the marketplace perform better than the outliers, or the communities where you can't necessarily walk to get your cup of coffee. And that's an ebb and flow. I mean, listen, 7 or 8 or 9 years ago, back in the early 2000s, everyone wanted to live in Stockton or Delaware Township or Solebury, where you could, drive to that, half-mile driveway and have the house and have the sheep in the front yard. Well, that dream, not necessarily that it's gone, but the market, again, it ebbs and flows. And right now, the ebb is towards living in a community where you can walk to get a cup of coffee, or walk to buy that food, or walk to take your kid to school. So, yeah, I mean, right now it's all about living in a community where you can walk to work, or walk to your kids to school, or walk to get your cup of coffee. That's the reality of it. And you know what? 6 years from now, we'll be talking differently, and I'll be saying, hey, everyone wants to live in where they have a half-mile driveway. So.
Yeah, that happens. I mean, with cities too, people are either coming into the cities, people are either vacating the cities. I mean, look at us. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you live in town, I live in town, and we wanted to come to this town and live within walking distance to everything. And we came from areas where we had,
Absolutely.
big piece of property, so it makes sense.
Absolutely.
So that's great. So, and prices, are you seeing real estate prices going up?
Prices overall, regardless of whether it's Lambertville or New Hope, you're going to see them. I believe the number right now is 5 to 6% increase over the next 3 to 5 years per year. For property values. So, prices in Lambertville, prices in New Hope are going to continue to increase as that desire, is still out there to live within a walking community. So, if you're living in the outskirts, that's still a great place to live. But long story short, the desire right now is for folks to live in an area where they can get up in the morning, crack the front door, walk out, grab their paper, go walk down the street and get a cup of coffee. I mean, that's just the reality of it.
Yeah, great, super. So let me ask you too, your marketing. How do you actually go about marketing your services?
Oh, that's a good question. Up until, and I kind of chuckle over that, up until recently, I've actually not marketed myself at all over the last 16 years outside of past clients and realtors that I work with. There's this new thing that I just learned about called Zillow. It's a capital Z, by the way. That I find that a lot of people are using, a lot of realtors are using, so we just got kind of invested in that, and we now have clients actually writing us, basically commenting on our performance from start to finish, and the testimonials that they're putting into Zillow. We'll see how they work out. But long story short, marketing, going back to the old school way of doing things, is word of mouth is still the best form of advertisement. And in my industry, I don't think a lot of people really think about that or care about that. I actually do. I'd rather have someone walk away happy or point them in another direction where they can get something where they need and walk away happy than actually put them in a position where they're not happy and walk away and, not speak fondly of me. So, yeah, I mean, advertising for me, I just kind of got into the real world of advertising within the last 12 to 16 months, and we'll see how it works out. But again, I've survived this long without advertising in the general media, and it's done well, so we'll see what happens.
It is a word of mouth type of business,
Absolutely.
and people who have bought from you have, they'll tell to other people. The realtors you work with, if you work good with them,
Sure.
they'll recommend you. So it does work. It works
Sure.
good that way. Yeah, Zillow, I guess, is like the Yelp of for the real estate trade.
No
we
doubt,
use
no
Zillow.
doubt.
We use Zillow every day when we're looking for houses here
No
in
doubt.
town. So, as we round up this section of the meeting, I'd just like to ask a couple free-form things as far as your suggestions for people who are wanting to start a business, taking that risk, taking that leap. What advice might you have for people?
I don't know if I have advice that's going to make or break them from jumping off the cliff, but long story short, everyone that I've spoken to that has, after being in the industry for 16 years, I jumped off on my own last year, November 14th to be exact, to be on my own, and it was 2015 was the best year of my life. So what I find is most people that I speak to who have actually taken that leap don't regret it. So if you're out there and you're thinking about going in business, or you're kind of kicking it around in your head, my suggestion would be, one, obviously understand what you're getting into, but two, if you're going to do it, just do it. It's not a matter of sticking your toe in the water, it's a matter of jumping into the pool.
Fall forward into the pool.
Fall forward.
Glenn, I appreciate that. Okay, we're going to take a break now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the Lambertville New Hope Chamber of Commerce.
Love to do it.
Awesome.
It's all authentic comfort food at Bitter Bob's in New Hope. Bob serves mouth-watering barbecued pork and chicken dishes, signature sloppy sandwiches, homemade cornbread, macaroni and cheese and collard greens, all the great southern dishes you crave for. Bob serves weekend brunch, lunch, and dinner, BYOB, with an outside patio that is dog-friendly, and he has a kids menu. Great desserts, too. And Bob can cater any event, big or small. Tell the waitstaff you heard this commercial and get 10% off. Bitter Bob's in New Hope, PA. Authentic comfort food for your family.
This is Joe.
And Russ.
And Tyson. And we are
Sourland.
We, amongst 50 other local musicians, are playing the Prowlesville Mill Music Marathon on Saturday, March the 5th.
It will be at the Prowlesville Mill in Stockton, New Jersey from 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. 13 hours of non-stop local music on 2 separate stages. So come join us. You can buy tickets now at panjradio.com. It's going to be a blast.
All right, we're back for part 2 of Entrepreneur Espresso, and our guest remains Glenn Davis. He didn't leave. He didn't fall forward and run out the door.
I didn't run out the door.
No, he didn't run. So he stayed. He's staying for the bitter end here. So hey, so now we're going to shift gears a bit. We talked about benchmark lending and how Glenn got into that business, but now Glenn is also an influencer in town, and this show is about business owners and influencers. And as an influencer, he is the president of the Greater Lambertville New Hope Chamber of Commerce. And as I mentioned in the preamble of the show, I was part of the board of that illustrious group, and it's really eye-opening. The amazing things that the chamber is doing for this town. But I don't want to talk about it. I'm going to let Glenn tell about it.
Is that right?
Yeah, I could.
You seem like you want to talk about it.
I love to. I talk about it all. You know what? I'm really proud of the chamber. I'm proud of everything that you and Wilson did before, and David is doing now, David Morgan. So I am passionate about it, and it comes up in a lot of meetings when I talk about it. But it is my show to have you talk about it.
Absolutely.
So what I'd like you to do is this: start off with your comments about the chamber, maybe a little bit of the history of the chamber from your
Yeah.
perspective, and then your vision and your
Yeah,
objectives.
absolutely, absolutely. You know, the chamber up until about 2014 was a chamber that kind of revolved around the Shad Fest. I mean, that was their focus. That was their sole mean of existence, and it wasn't a good thing. It wasn't a bad thing. But long story short, there was much more than that. You know, as some, I hate to say new blood, but new blood got involved. We realized that you know, Lambertville, New Hope, Washington's Crossing, Frenchtown were not just, you know, when people come here, they come to Lambertville, they come to New Hope, they come to the Delaware River towns, as we now call it. They don't come to Lambertville, they come to Lambertville and New Hope. They don't come to Washington's Crossing, they come to visit Washington's Crossing, they ride their bike to New Hope or to Lambertville and then cruise on to Frenchtown. So we quickly had the idea that, you know, it's not just a day stop, if you will. It's a destination. So 2 or 3 years ago, we kind of, a handful of people got together and said, rather than just being the Lambertville Chamber or the New Hope Chamber, why not be the Greater Lambertville New Hope Chamber? And that quickly has evolved into what we are today, which is the Greater Lambertville New Hope Chamber, which you'll probably see us within the next year or two become the Delaware River Towns, because it's a destination. We all know we've been very successful, whether it's Washington Crossing or Frenchtown or Lambertville or New Hope, to get people here for the day. But what about having them come here for the weekend? What about, you know, rather than those folks in New York going to the Hamptons, why aren't they coming to New Hope? Rather than having the folks from Washington, D.C. go south or go north, why not have them come here for the weekend? And it was that idea, that thought process to brought us to where we are today. We went from 54, 152 members back in 2015. 11, 12, 13 months later, we're 300 plus and growing. You know, we can accomplish more as one voice than we can ever accomplish as individuals, and that's kind of the premise of the Greater Lambertville New Hope Chamber of Commerce right now.
Okay, and the key there is making this region, the Delaware River towns, a destination, a true destination.
Absolutely.
Because again, as you say, people come to Lambertville, but it's not just Lambertville. They get on their bikes, they ride to Stockton, they go and they spend some time here, then they go up to Frenchtown. So how do you create that voice? And this is what you're doing. You're creating that. So
Absolutely. You know, it's funny. I believe Dave Morgan, who's our executive director, I think came up with this line, and I'll give him credit for it. There's just as many blue penguin. I think that's the name of the little ice cream place across the road.
Yeah.
There's just as many blue penguin cups in the garbage cans of Lambertville as there are in New Hope. And that's you know, you think about it, the people who come to New Hope don't just come to New Hope and hang out for the day. They come to New Hope, they walk across the bridge, they spend their other half of the day in Lambertville. So it's that thought process, it's that mindset that we're trying to kind of get across to the business sector of the Delaware River towns.
did David actually count the cups?
Well, it's possible. It's possible.
I just want to know if that was a
He's
scientific
retired, so
study.
it's possible. It could have
Hey,
happened.
but this is a good segue, though, because I know that a little over a year ago or so, the chamber hired David Morgan to be the executive director. Was that new for this chamber, to have somebody full-time, totally dedicated?
It absolutely was. As a chamber at the time, again, rolling back the clock 12, 14 months ago, we had one person who was semi-part-time. She did a great job, and she did a great job of promoting the Shad Fest, but we obviously knew that we needed to go further than that. So we took the next step, and the next step is literally hiring someone full-time to do what needs to be done to get us where we want to be. And where we want to be is, again, not just a daytime stop trip for you know, the buses to stop by and drop off some folks and spend the day. We want to be a destination where people come for the weekend, whether it's going to the vineyards or whether it's spending the weekend here for the galleries. We want people to spend their time here rather than going to other locations. And you wrap the river, you wrap the artists that we have, the incredible talented artists that we have in the area. It's a no-brainer. It's just a matter of what we can get across to the public and what that message is going to be. And our message now is, again, we're a destination. We're not a daytime stop.
I can't imagine how all of these events could have taken place without somebody like David actually meeting with the council, meeting with the fire department, meeting with I mean, there's just so many moving parts to putting these programs together. He's done a fantastic job, I think.
It's ADD. He has it, and it all works in our benefit.
Okay. Or
I say that jokingly. Obviously, he's done a phenomenal job, and I'm not quite sure there's anyone else we could have hired who could have taken us further. And this isn't the David show. This is about just our belief as a chamber and our belief as a board as what we can do when we all speak as one voice, and that's kind of where we are today. Again, we've gone from 150 some folks to 300 plus. We've got Frenchtown now becoming a part of, or kind of, I don't want to say merging with, because we certainly don't want to steal their identity, but they've kind of latched on to what our belief is, and they're becoming a part of what we're doing. So we have a lot of folks who have really kind of jumped onto our train and are going in our direction. I should say jumped onto our boat and are rowing in our direction, which is, again, this is a destination where if you want to have a wedding, I mean, what better spot on the East Coast to have a wedding than the Delaware River towns? If you want to come for a weekend to get away with your wife and get away from the kids, what better place to come than here? We have a great, I've met with a lot of the different vineyards on both New Jersey and Pennsylvania side. They call it the Vineyard Trail. The Vineyard Trail in New Jersey and PA is just, I think we have 5 or 8 different vineyards in Hunterdon County, as well as I think 10 or 11 in Bucks County, where you can spend the day or spend the weekend and just peruse the different vineyards and try the different wineries out there and see what's happening. So we've got a lot to offer, whether it's galleries, whether it's wine, whether it's food. We've got foodie location. This is a great location as well, restaurants. So we've got a lot to offer.
We do, absolutely. That's why I'm enjoying every day that I'm here. Let's go back to destination. What tools, what marketing programs, how are you actually supporting the idea of making the Delaware River towns a true destination?
You're putting me in a corner now, aren't you? I'm joking. What we did actually, and this is a great question, and I'm going to give you an answer, is one of the things that had never been done that we decided to do was we actually enlisted, I want to say 7 or 8 different marketing companies from both New York and Philadelphia. We contacted them, we shared with them our kind of story and said, what can we do? Or, what is the ideal, I hate to say client, but the ideal client, customer, whatever you like to call it. And all of them, 7 of the 8 or 8 of the 8 came back and said, you know what? What you need to do is change your picture from a daily place to a destination, a weekend destination. And they gave us the demographics of what we're looking for. So, our ideal client, and again, I hate to say client, but our ideal client is 25 to 55. It's that couple that's out there that has the extra cash to kind of get out for the weekend and spend it in the galleries, spend it in the restaurants, spend it in the vineyards. Enjoying our area. I mean, it's a special area, regardless of whether you're talking about the river, whether you're talking about the views, whether you're talking about the towpath, or whether you're talking about the people. It's a really special area that we need to spread a larger net and let people know that we're here. We have people from Philadelphia, people from Washington D.C., or people from New York that are going in different directions when they should be heading towards us.
And we have the guide.
And we have the guide.
Which is,
Absolutely.
I think, is a great vehicle, because that is easily transportable. You can put it into hotels, into visitor centers, and so on and so forth. People pick it up, and there's all our businesses.
We came out with the first ever tour guide of the Delaware River towns, and that covers from Washington's Crossing up to Frenchtown. And actually, the next edition, which will be the second edition, will cover from Washington's Crossing up to Milford. And not only will we have all the towns included in there, we'll also have the wine trails, as they call it, from both Hunterdon County as well as Bucks County. So that's a great piece for us. You know, it's kind of crazy to think that 20 minutes from here in Lambertville, we have, I believe it's Frontier Airline that flies into Trenton. And many people that come up from Florida, I mean, that's the big destination for them. I think they have a stop in Florida, or actually, I know they have a stop in Florida, that have no idea that we're here. So it's spreading that word about, you know, the fact, one, that we're here, and two, of what we have to offer. From a food standpoint, we've got great restaurants. From a wedding standpoint, you know, in my opinion, where else would you want to get married? I mean, we've got beautiful, beautiful bed and breakfast. We've got great, great restaurants, including whether it's the Logan Inn or the Lambertville Station, who just put an incredible addition on for weddings. So we're here. We just need to tell more people about it.
And that's going, I think, really well. I mean, I remember when I first came to town, you know, and I've said this before, you know, we had that meeting. You had your meeting at the Acme Center. I got to tell you, it felt cold, just like the room. The room was cold. It was chilly. The mood, I thought, was chilly. And it's one of the things that actually invigorated me to somehow participate and help in this town. The last meeting we had, which was at
Hotel du Village.
was warm. It was vibrant.
It was exciting. It was vibrant.
My God, it was
the energy.
The energy was amazing.
The energy was amazing, and that's what we're all about. I mean, we've got such a special location. Again, regardless of whether it's the people, the location, the food, the gallery, or whatever it might be, that kind of draws you to this section. We need to not only be telling the folks in Doylestown and the folks in Princeton about it, but we've got to spread that word out further to New York, to Philadelphia, to Washington, to D.C., because that's the demographics, that's the folks we want coming here to spend the weekend, to spend their money, to spend their time. That's the folks that are going to really kind of elevate us to the next level, which I believe is where we're going, between what's happening with Odette's, what's happening with the Logan Inn, the fact that Hotel du Village was just completely redone. It's a beautiful, beautiful establishment, and some of the other, you know, things that are going on in the community. We've got a lot to offer. We just need to tell more people about it. And how do we do that? We do that through numbers, and we do that through one voice, through more people joining together, basically sharing the same vision.
And that makes great sense. So I want to come down a little bit. I want to talk about some of the local businesses and how they feel. But before I get to that, why don't you give us a sense of what types of programs and events do we have planned for the coming year? What are the chamber is known, I mean, the destination marketing is absolutely critical to bringing people here. But we do a lot of events, and maybe that's just part and parcel of being part of a chamber. But Shad Fest, as you mentioned. But why don't you give us a shout out to some of the things that are
We do. You know,
coming
some
up.
of the things we have going on. Restaurant Week, which this year we're incredibly excited about. Last year, I believe we had 34 restaurants. This year, we're quickly approaching 50, and I think we might even break that number because we've included Frenchtown in there. Great event. Showcases all the restaurants. We had nothing but positive response from the restaurants last year, and this year I think it's going to be much better than we had last year, only because of the number of restaurants included. Shad Fest, as you know, this is the 35th year for the Shad Fest, so we've got a lot of special things going on there as well. On top of that, if you include, and it just escapes my brain. Forgive me.
Let's see, food truck.
The food truck events. We're trying to push the food truck event this year, actually, to New Hope. We've had it 3 years, and the last 3 or 4 times we've had it at Lambertville. This year, I'm really trying to push that towards the New Hope side, so we can kind of get a little bit of excitement on that side of the river going. So there are a lot of things that we're doing. From a business standpoint, you know, we're not the chamber that does the card exchange. I'm not a big believer in the card exchange, or, you know, the card happy hour. We'd rather do something that actually gives value. So we have, this year at the end of February, we have Scores. Scores is joined with us. They'll be doing a quarterly event for us. Scores, if you don't know what that is, it is an organization that is completely nonprofit, and folks that are C-level or above managers from different corporations who are retired, who want to share their knowledge, their wealth, with businesses on what it takes to succeed. And these folks are going to be joining us I believe February 29th. Don't hold me to that date, but they'll be meeting with us, and they'll be talking for a good hour and a half, excuse me, about social media and what it takes to be a business in 2016, and what it takes to be to market yourself both not only socially but also locally. So we're trying to add value to everything that we do. Again, I'm not a huge believer in the old let's do a card exchange, because everyone does a card exchange, everyone grabs cards, everyone goes home, they wrap a rubber band around the cards, they throw them in their drawer, and they never use them again. So that's not what we want to be.
There are other groups that do that, by the way, right here in
There
town,
are, by the
which
way,
is great, which is super.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
No, I meant that,
Yeah,
when you
absolutely.
guys are up flying like eagles above, we have eagles in this
Absolutely.
town, you fly like eagles above, strategically having people come here. There are other groups that are doing some of the more macro.
And that's perfectly okay. Again, I'm not for it, I'm not against it. I'm just saying I believe we can spend our time more profitably, we can spend our time better, utilizing it with folks and learning and maybe elevating each of our businesses rather than just kind of having a drink and handing a card to someone. So that's my take on it.
By the way, I think Gene's going to be one of my guests in an upcoming show.
Gene's a great guy. Gene is
So that'll be, I think he has a lot of good positive things to say.
absolutely.
So I think that's a positive. And then we had Michael Port last year. So
Listen,
are those
Port-
kind of programs?
Michael Port will continue to, he has graciously, allowed us to do what we did last year, and he's offered his services in the years coming. So
Really?
it's things like that really add value to what your membership brings and what your membership is. Michael Port, who, literally gets anywhere between $60,000 and $100,000 per talk, he did for us for nothing at the Playhouse. So it's stuff like that really adds value to what we do.
And then you're also, I saw the other day, you're not a sponsor, I don't know the right word, but with Pride, with the
Yeah,
whole.
the Gay Pride Weekend. That's actually something we're really excited about. Every spring we have, as you know or may not know, the Gay Pride Weekend. They hold it here. It's something that I guess it's been going on for, and I don't know the exact details, but it's been going on for many years. They approached us and had asked us to become a kind of a partner with them as far as marketing the actual event, and that's what we're going to do. The East Coast from the East Coast standpoint, this is the largest gay and lesbian event that's around, and we're now a part of that. We're marketing it, and we're working conjointly with them to make sure that it's a successful event. So it's things like that. We're a marketing arm, and again, the more that we can do for local community and local businesses and sharing their message or their viewpoint or what they're doing, whether it's a gallery opening, whether it's a restaurant opening, whether it's Gay Pride Weekend, and we're literally blasting that stuff all over the place. That's what we're here for. We're here to help the business community grow.
We're enhancing the destination.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, great. So I'm just shifting a little bit here. When you meet with local businesses, what do you hear from them? And let me add to that.
Sure.
At the same time, saying is, what are some of what is your feel? What is the feel that you get as far as the economy here locally for our businesses as well? You have that pulse again.
Yeah, it's kind of. I'm an optimist, so most of the folks that I meet with, I do believe that things are good and going to get better. We certainly have those folks who want us to focus more on their segment of the marketplace, and as a chamber, we try to hit all of those segments, whether it's restaurants, galleries, service business. It's something that we're continually working on and getting better and better, and by no means am I saying we're great at any of them now, but I do believe we're getting better each month as we move forward and kind of learn and continue to kind of evolve into the chamber that I think all the businesses want us to be. From a business standpoint, I believe that most people think things are positive and things are improving and things are better than they were 3 to 5 years ago. It's funny. I'll take a step back to the the Yellow Page days when I used to come here and a lot of my reps that used to come down to this area to Lambertville, New Hope, they'd be like, "Oh my God, you're coming here, and you're sending me there in January or February. It's dead, and no one wants to walk in, and there's ice on the street, and the doors are closed." I don't know if that actually existed then, but I know it doesn't exist now. It seems that we've got a really vibrant business community, and whether it's here, whether it's Washington Crossing, or whether it's Frenchtown, I truly believe that a lot of businesses are doing better now than they ever have.
I share that. I think, again, looking back over the past year, some businesses, I mean, it's up to them. That's the thing. It's really what each business does to be successful. We'll have programs that may, in Entrepreneur Espresso, that will maybe help some of those local businesses, giving them specific advice. The chamber is, again, flying above, doing more strategic, bringing people here. How you treat those people when they arrive is really going to be something that other people are really good at. SCORE, for instance, will be really good at. So the chamber leading them to SCORE is fantastic for that. How can local businesses get involved with the chamber? I mean, besides joining.
Yeah, no, it's really simple. We have a new page coming up. We've started working with, if you're familiar with the 100 and Happenings or the Bucks Happenings, they're going to be joining with us and actually creating our website that I've been talking about for so long, and I'm embarrassed to say we're still going on. But long story short, I think the end product is going to be an amazing product. We're always looking for folks to help us with whether it's an event or whether it's marketing. So I think the best thing they can do is just contact the local office, give us a call, let us know that they're willing to work with us, let us know that they've got some free time and they're willing to volunteer and help us. And when the new site pops up, we're going to have a special little link for volunteers that can get involved with, whether it's Shadfest, whether it's the food truck event, whether it's, whatever it might be that we're doing, whether it's the Pride, the parade, they are welcome to come on board, because there's one thing that we're always in need of, and that's extra hands, extra bodies, and extra minds. So feel free to give us a buzz and become, start working with us, because we're happy to have you on board.
And having the business community stepping in, even if it's volunteering, even if it's just attending the meetings that we have, going to the Michael Port type meetings and so on and so forth, that is so critical, because they'll start to get some buy-in. And it's a two-way street. You'll be listening to them. They'll feel a little bit more empowered. And I think that's really powerful.
Absolutely.
Don't just pay for your fee and
listen.
sit back.
As a chamber, we're not here to collect your $275 or whatever you're paying or whatever segment you fall into. We're here to help you, to help your business, and help the community grow. And that's our goal. We try our best to kind of hit everyone's spot, but long story short is it's not always that easy. So we welcome anyone who wants to volunteer to certainly give us a buzz, stop by the local office, give me a call at my office. I'm right down, I'm in Lambertville. I live in Lambertville. I work in Lambertville. If you want to stop by my office, it's certainly a welcome place for you. So please come on down and help us grow and help us continue to send the message out, which is we live in a really incredible place with not only beautiful views and beautiful rivers, but really beautiful people. And again, from past experiences in my own life, it's not necessarily the destination, it's the people. And I believe we have really great people on both sides of the river, and that's the message we're trying to share.
And so to conclude our first episode of Entrepreneur Espresso, we did have a beautiful, optimistic, fall-forward person today, Glenn Davis.
Fall forward, my friend.
Fall forward.
That's what it's all about.
It is all about it. And so thank you very much for being part of our show here. Our next show will continue to feature businesses, entrepreneurs, and local influencers. If you want to be a guest on our show, please contact us, and please join our Facebook page, Entrepreneur Espresso. This is Stephen Harris. Thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for having us.
You got it.